Let's get to the frustrating part of the report. Most of the traditions we are used to are no longer practiced. These are the traditions we know from books and fantasize about on TV. Does that mean millennials for the oldest generation currently living in the US? What does this really mean for the concept of romantic love? How much time do I have to discover sexual love? What does that mean? I mean, listen to me. If dating dies, who's in charge? If Dayton's sex life still thrives, who's to blame? So I belong to the millennial generation. And without mentioning anyone in particular, we are said to be the hookup generation. If you search for the terms millennial and dating together, you'll find articles explaining where courtship ends, millennial dating rules, and where dating ends and begins. You can also find articles discussing millennial dating rules. They put a lot of thought into this question before answering it. Not only is this style of writing useless, it is also inaccurate in describing the situation. It would be more accurate to name these alternate truths. Unless you've been living in a cave for the past 10 years, you'll be aware of this. You realize that we live in an age where sexual encounters are more likely than ever. But new data from the Pew Research Center shows that we actually have fewer people than any generation since our grandparents. Despite the fact that we live in an age where sexual encounters are more likely than ever. In retrospect, it's clear that I wasn't that fast. It's widely believed that our generation doesn't value relationships too much and doesn't want long-term commitments. However, 8 in 10 minors disagree with this statement. Now that we've laid out some ground rules, how would you describe the state of your dating life right now? All of us are in a unique position to witness firsthand the shift in historical perspective and cultural progress. My first purchase was a tape player. Then I upgraded to a CD player, and now I can play music and TV. To be honest, my phone actually acts like a tiny computer, giving me access to a seemingly limitless amount of data, which negatively affects my ability to resist the temptation of instant pleasure. My patience runs out when my Uber ride is delayed by more than 5 minutes, and I've seen it affect other, less important areas of my life. It annoys me that this device rings every time someone calls me. It's the equivalent of asking, "Hey, are you sure you want to hang up and text me?" Electives give us a different kind of variable, and I highly doubt I'm the only one who thinks so. The question is, as a group, how can we better understand each other? At this point, we need to focus on other things first. This is the equivalent of Twilight. When it comes to romance, this situation is known as the dark middle ground. We have relationships everywhere. We can be in local bars, online forums, or social networking sites. We hang out because there is no better way to describe our work. Sometimes there is sexual contact. Then we are at the beginning of a relationship that we don't want to be in, but feel like a relationship because we engage in typical relationship behaviors and activities while feeling connected. Despite our best efforts to remain unattached, sometimes sexual encounters do occur. It's a mess, and now we're in the midst of something unrelated to dating. Like on duty or something. It's a mess, and now we're in the midst of something unrelated to dating. In fact, at this point, no one can agree on the definition of dating. In this regard, I looked up the various meanings of the term export to better understand what contemporary users of the term mean when they refer to it. Going out in regular clothes on a day off is not the same as dressing up for a date. Dressing appropriately can help in this situation. So there you have it. I found it on Yelp. Who knew Yelp offered this device? One user wrote that the real date began by visiting a young woman's home and discussing her plans with her parents before receiving a DNA sample to ensure no one could trace the location of the official date. I was surprised to learn that Yelp offered the device, knowing that Yelp offered it to meet potential romantic partners at the ice rink or school dance, which may have been a success for previous generations, but these places are now not considered out of the norm. When I was younger, when two people met, it was common for guys to drive to a girl's house and wait for her. An appointment can be a 30-minute conversation at Starbucks or an hour-long conversation on Skype. The use of the internet has fundamentally changed the social environment by creating new channels through which people can communicate with each other. The challenges this poses are not to blame on the internet, although some Tinders are always pointing the finger at themselves, even if it wasn't their decisions or actions that caused the problem. There's no denying that dating standards change from one generation to the next, as there is no logical reason to discriminate between two people who like each other. Dating shouldn't be any different from other areas of our lives, simply because we have so many tools at our disposal to improve other areas of our lives. Although only 26% of adult millennials are married, The world is much smaller today than it was a decade ago, thanks to advances in technology. This makes us more likely to find people who share our interests. Moving on, it's important to remember that we'll have access to tools like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Tumblr. They are only useful as musical instruments. They make it easier for us to communicate with others, but it is still up to us to build authentic and unique relationships. The process of finding love still doesn't have a standardized plan, nor an app. As I would like, in today's world, dating is less of a one-time event and more of an ongoing practice. The dating process in today's world consists of two parts. Finding a partner worthy of our undivided attention is the first stage and requires us to be self-conscious and systematic in our attachment. Before we get to the bottom of who we are at our core, we make sure we stay active and engaged, and we never forget how to spend quality time with others. So we need to be able to multitask and remember that there is a life outside of the internet, in addition to the life we live online. Later in dating, when we decide to develop our life with a person, we have to make choices, even when there are countless potential partners at our fingertips. This is because we choose to build our life with one person. In 2018, approximately 2 billion people around the world use social media. This section describes several options. At this moment, everyone can open their social media profiles and witness the efforts of many. There is also a general lack of attention. As we flipped through our timeline, we came across several posts about people whose primary goal was finding a job rather than a romantic partner or partner. I'm a simple person and many people can't wait to make some time for themselves. It's possible that we're just watching pop culture hits right now, or listening to the most radio-reliant songs and yes, have fun. In fact, we can even dance. Still, we've noticed a general mindset similar to our own. Despite the turmoil, we cannot deny the desire for social connection inherent in every human being. Allow me to give you a little information, nowhere to hide. That was just something that came out of my mouth for no reason, but absolutely true. The results of a study conducted at Harvard University are very relevant to the subject at hand. Only participants over the age of 75 could complete the study, but because they did, the researchers were able to identify the most important characteristics associated with maintaining long-term partnerships. About the same time 2 years ago, it really hurt me. When my dad's doctor said his cancer no longer needed treatment, my family and I were in a pen ward with him when the news broke. My father has a week to live. I'm not sure what that is, but from the look on his face, he seems to want nothing evil in the atmosphere. I didn't find out until my last conversation with him a day later. After reading it, I feel like I have a better understanding of his experience. When we had discussions like this, he didn't think about issues that I thought were very important. He cared nothing, not even the prospect of death. Only those he loves, and those who love him in return, matter to him. So let me just say, the idea of dating has become more malleable over the years. While it's a new approach, it's already here and feels different to users. If we let it die, even if we hit some bumps in the road, and did it in a weird way at first. Dating should be like this, because that's what life is about. It will die only if we let it die. We are very grateful and grateful